Welcome, 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 everyone. Hope you're having an absolutely splendid day. I am Tubbs, and this is Classics Under Fire. Today we are tackling the question, was Super Mario World really that good? This is a series where I'm putting all them classic video gems that you all know and love to the test, because I've never played them before. I will be assessing them retrospectively from my completely blind viewpoint. I am not hindered by nostalgia, and I only have the reputation of the games themselves to go off of. Yes, that means as a huge Mario fan, I have never played Super Mario World. Well, up to the point of this review. I absolutely love video games, you all know this, especially console games. Especially Nintendo games. And I missed what is considered by many to be one of the best Nintendo, maybe the best game of all time. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. As you can see by the list scrolling next to me, I forewent a whole lot of games that many would consider to be a rite of passage to be a gamer in the 90s. How is that possible, you ask? Time for a quick Tubbs history lesson.
The year was 1999. A young gamer was traveling across the great I-15 freeway in a minivan for a visit to Grandpa's house. He had his sole console with him, a Game Boy Color, teal. It was a modest machine with a few simple games, but wow did he cherish it. He switched the cartridges from Pokemon Yellow to Super Mario Bros. Deluxe to this absolute garbage Grinch game some stupid adult got him without bothering to do any research on what a freaking proper game was. And that was it. He was bored, out of games and out of luck. How he longed for the hour when they would arrive at Grandpa's and he could play it. The holy grail of gaming for 7-year-olds in 1999. The N64. Mario Golf, Mario Kart 64, Mario Party with the countless blisters on his palm.
Yeah!
And of course, Super Mario 64. The pinnacle of gaming in his eyes, for all he knew was Mario. On the N64. He didn't even know the Super Nintendo existed, the fool. All that mattered was that little gray cartridge with the rounded top with the image of a completely logical mustache plumber running over a hill from a giant, fierce, fire-breathing turtle. Where did that mustache man come from? Why was he famous? Why didn't he have a belly button? It didn't matter to the boy, for he did not know his favorite hero was buttonless until 18 years later. And he was 7. It was 1999. He had a very limited perspective with no concept of a Google search. All that mattered was attaining that cartridge, and his life would be complete.
Basically, I missed every NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Master System, PlayStation 1 game, etc. I did have a PlayStation 2, and especially with the 7th generation of consoles, my viewpoint widened, but heck, I didn't even play Zelda, one of my favorite franchises, until Twilight Princess, because my view of games was just so limited really to what my friends liked, which was Mario and Pokemon. Zelda had a boring cover, what can I say? I did manage to sneak a few games in there, like Donkey Kong Country, however, which I also thought was a Game Boy Advance game until as my senior year of high school, but regardless, I have a lot of catching up to do, and you all get to come along for the ride. Finally, on this series, we're going to judge each game in a tiered list, because hey, we're gamers. We got S for supercharged, A for absolutely appreciated, B, better have your nostalgia goggles, C, can I use this as a tax write-off, and F for burn it. So that's it. If you made it this far, great. Strap on those nostalgia goggles and let's jump right on into Super Mario World. Well, that didn't work. Ah! Who are you?
Well, I'm you, but with nostalgia goggles.
Yeah, but why?
Well, 'cause you said strap on your nostalgia
Like,
goggles.
why did putting on goggles make a clone of myself?
It's probably some ploy of lazy writing that you're using to segue and validate the next section where you talk about opinions and details of the game when it first released, even though you just got through explaining that you didn't know anything about this game until like 10 minutes ago.
Super Mario World was released in 1990 in Japan and 1991 in North America to absolute 100% perfect critical acclaim. It was a pack-in title in North America, so pretty much everyone had it, and everyone loved it. It was designed to showcase the power and features of the SNES, which it absolutely did, and totally demolished Sega's Blue Burr and the Genesis. Sonic released 3 months earlier, but even such a large head start couldn't make him fast enough. Actually, even just the original Sonic the Hedgehog game outsold Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo by 2 million copies, and that's just including Genesis sales. Well, it sold over 20 million copies, and it's still amazing. It showcased rich backgrounds and actual foregrounds in the world, and the Mode 7 scaling, where it's like the characters actually move closer and further away from you. It's 3D. Incredible graphics at 32,000 total colors with the ability to showcase 128 simultaneous sprites, but not only technically is it marvelous, it also is a masterclass in 16-bit platforming perfection. It added exploration and adventuring to a level-based platformer, and a Mario one at that. It has a vast variety of level design and never feels sluggish or boring. It has been re-released 4 times and even got its own animated TV series.
Ball boys don't eat the balls, they pick them up.
What? Me no eat ball? What? You call this fun?
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Miyamoto even said that his favorite Mario game was Super Mario World. It is the definitive Mario experience and is a must for every platformer and Nintendo fan. Yeah, it's true I think the game looks great and the gameplay is absolutely solid, but for every review that praises its visuals, it was met with one that felt like it really did not showcase the system's full potential, especially when compared to the SNES's other 2 launch titles, F-Zero and Pilot Wings. It was also critiqued often for being a cheap shot by Nintendo to use the Mario brand just to push consoles out, as people thought it simply could have been made on the NES with some slight changes.
This was largely due to Super Mario World being released and only using 4 megabytes of the cartridge's available 64 megabytes. This 4 megabytes was very comparable to other NES titles that were coming out at the end of that console's life, and coupled with the fact that people felt there wasn't a new crazy mechanic in the game that couldn't have been done on the NES, as they had already seen main characters riding animal-like allies similar to Yoshi and Mario.
The cape is amazing.
Yes! Now can you get out of my review?
In no surprise, you start this game following Mario and his friends, and immediately our favorite Stockholm Syndrome princess is abducted by Bowser. But this time you are not in the Mushroom Kingdom. Instead, you're in Dinosaur Land, meaning we get a bunch of odd characters like this overly happy death monster and a freaking fire-breathing Triceratops with his mom. But most importantly, we get this guy. Yes, sir, if you did not know, like I did not, this was everyone's favorite Super Dino's debut. In addition to Yoshi, Mario gets a few other new moves, like the spin jump. This allows him to bounce on top of otherwise deadly hazards and destroy blocks below him. And I always thought this was just a weird addition to Smash Bros. You can also now throw items up. Neat. This is required to find lots of secrets the easy way, and is kind of used in a pretty important thing called the final boss. Mario has also forgone a plethora of his power-ups from Super Mario Bros. 3, except for the Super Mushroom, Star, Fire Flower, and the newly added Cape given to you by Yoshi. What a guy! Cape Mario is like Raccoon Mario, but allows for
Infinite flight.
unless you absolutely suck like I do, in which then it provides
Instant death.
Personally, I really like the change of having just a limited number of movement options available to you as the player as you try to master and have to use them like a puzzle to uncover the game's secrets, and are there a ton of those. There are a total of 9 worlds with 72 levels, and 24 of those levels having secret exits for 96 total exits if you're going for full completion. Compared to Super Mario Bros. 3, which I also recently played for the first time, I am sorry, or even the newer entries of the series, this is incredible. Instead of just having secrets lead to shortcuts, in Super Mario World they lead to extra levels, extra worlds, or even these wonderful switch houses making certain areas easier or requiring some backtracking to access entirely new secrets that you couldn't before. I felt like I was playing a much more modern experience with some great exploration and true sense of adventuring accomplishing goodness.
When I got stuck, it was usually not because something was just simply hard to execute or unfair to the player, but rather I couldn't actually figure out where to go, and this was wonderful. The gameplay was much more varied, and like good old Goggles over here mentioned, the flow and pacing is fantastic. Yes, I was frustrated when stuck, but there was only a few minor instances when I felt the game was cheap or poorly designed, like the lives, but more on that later. Save points at each Boo House and Koopling Castle were very welcome, even with the fights all being a little bit on the easy side. I felt very rewarded for clearing each one and loved these post-fight scenes when Mario destroys each castle. Please give us more of this stupid humor for the Mario series in the future. Overall, while playing this game, it felt strangely familiar. It took me a bit, but then I realized it felt like what I know as a 3D platformer. You can go anywhere at any time, and you are required to backtrack for completion if you so choose. If you get stuck, you can try a different level or come at it from a different angle with a different strategy, except for the key things like boss fights. I also feel like there is way less expected of the player in terms of mindless searching for hours and just clicking on every single thing in the world, hoping you get lucky. I'm looking at you, Legend of Zelda. For things they do not guide the player with level design, they literally tell you in these handy tutorial signposts. The only frustrating, challenging parts were when I was trying to 100% the game in optional extra levels, which by that point, you as a player should know how the game works, and things should be harder for you to find or complete, so I felt this was fair. Spoiler warning. For a 30-year-old game, you have been warned. At the end of the game, you defeat Bowser, or whatever this weird thing with green arms is, by throwing his robot minions at him in the clown car while dodging fire demons, this propeller, and big steel balls. Peachy will throw mushrooms at you in between each phase, which is another one of those welcome quality of life things, though I don't know why Bowser is sitting on her in the first place. That crown has got to be uncomfortable. After hitting him for 6 total times for 3 mini phases, that's it. The princess is rescued and the credits roll. I would have liked to see a second phase to this boss, but I'm also just so used to Dry Bowser or Mega Bowser showing up, I was surprised when it was just Peach is saved, credits appeared. At the end of the credits, you are met with that good old school thank you screen, and you have to shut off the console like all games of this era, it seems. This always terrified me as a kid. Then, the real fun begins. For me, the main campaign was very enjoyable, but a little barren and simple. Though as I mentioned before, the secrets and puzzles and just figuring out where and how to get all the levels was amazing. 100%ing this game was absolutely fantastic. Except the stupid ghost house exit. I literally was stuck on this for days. But overall, as with a lot of things in life, the joy comes in the journey. However, these Mario Mask and Birdie Bullets as a completion bonus were a wonderful cherry on top. Just look at them, they don't even flap their wings, it's so stupid. And for some reason, only the horizontal ones show up as Pidgeots. The other ones are still bullet bills. In terms of graphics, this game is very great. It's not fantastic, but I do feel it has become the standard for what a retro 16-bit style should look like, for pretty obvious reasons. The charm in the design and care in each pixel really shines through and makes it feel truly like you are in another world. However, judging this game on a modern scale, I would love to see it have more depths of scenery in the backgrounds with some smoother animations and stuff like that. Maybe not as crazy as something as gorgeous like Octopath, but there is potential to make this game look absolutely jaw-dropping if made today. Same goes for the music. I think it's absolutely incredible, and well before I was even playing this game, I had completely fallen in love with it. In this journey for Mario, they were able to create much better echo effects, and just how grand the digital orchestra sounds compared to the old NES games makes for a wonderful experience. I really did feel like I was getting a complete soundtrack this time. However, I would love to see what we could do today, even while keeping that retro MIDI feel, maybe adding more instrumentation, but the biggest thing I would change is just more length to the songs. Especially with this overworld theme, each track looped right when I was starting to get immersed, and I expected it to repeat with a counter melody or an alternate bridge or just something extra. I would love to see each song reach at least 2 minutes before looping. One track that is perfect though is the victory music. Haha, this is amazing. With Mario's little run and pose at the end, I was smiling from ear to ear every single time I finished a level. There are definitely some other aspects of the game that I feel would immensely benefit from a modern upgrade. As mentioned earlier, I was not a fan of the life and game over system. I wish they would have just pulled an Odyssey and nixed the lives entirely. Yes, I know it's not hard to get lives in this game, and really there's no excuse for a game over, but that's the point. So it only takes 15 minutes to get to 99 lives, but that is 15 minutes I really shouldn't have to spend, as it is so easy and monotonous to do anyways. On another note, I would love to see the ability to change the button mapping. It drove me insane that I could not press R to spin jump and had to move my thumb off of Y and B and get all the way over to the A button. Maneuvers were unnecessarily more difficult, and I died way more times than I would like to admit because of this. I feel like if the game came out today, this would be a definite, even as the default controls. This next one is kind of a small thing, but personally, I never got the hang of flying with the scarf because I never really had to. I would have actually loved a forced special flying challenge stage or a secret only accessible after some serious extended flight maneuvers. I think there is a lot of potential there, and in newer games, especially 3D platformers, we are very used to this, even to a fault. Overall, I thought the game was a good length, but in the spirit of this flight level I just mentioned, I would not have minded a few more secret levels with some really interesting and difficult, almost Mario Maker-like challenges. I loved what they offered for us post-game, but just a little bit more would have been going that extra mile. Something like a Require Yoshi challenge, perhaps? Although the game did a much better job at quality of life features than its predecessors, there were still some mechanics that wouldn't quite work all the time, or expectations of the player that are beyond the cultural norm of gaming nowadays. This brings me to my two biggest complaints with the game. First off, why can we not choose to save at any time? We effectively can by just replaying a ghost house or castle, so why can we not save whenever we want, or at least every time that we're standing on a ghost house or a castle? This is really not that big of a deal through a standard playthrough, but when I was trying to complete the game is where it became almost unbearable because of my largest issue with this title. You need to be able to see which levels you have finished all exits for. Change a level's circle to green or blue when all exits are found in it, or something. If you want to argue that this detracts from the challenge of completing the game, fine. At the very least, allow me to see how many exits I have found from the overworld map instead of having to go all the way back to the title screen. As an alternative, when you start winding down exits at the end of the game, you are forced to guess which ones you're missing, play the level again, and get that particular exit. Then you have to go to a ghost house or castle, beat that level in order to save, so you can turn off the console, reload the game, and then you can see if that exit counted towards your total. The process is stupid ridiculous. When I finished my playthrough, I had 90 exits, meaning I only had 6 more. I had gotten all the obvious ones, and after finally conceding and looking at a completed map of the game online, I still could not tell which exits were missing. I finally got it down to 1 exit after redoing all of the Forest of Illusion levels and all of the Star Road levels twice. The whole process to get this stupid star and number 96 on my save file took almost 2 hours from the point that I had gotten 90 exits. If you could see which levels had already been completed, tell how many exits had been found from anywhere but just the title screen, or at least save on any point in the map, that time needlessly grinding at the end would have been drastically reduced. Now for just some stupid nitpicky stuff, I wish Mario would reflect his power-ups in the overworld, and this stupid space between the word start and the exclamation mark needs to die. Yeah! And that's it. I am officially giving Super Mario World our very first Classics Under Fire rank of A+.
Absolutely appreciated.
No, wrong. You worthless, idiotic, uncultured swine. This game deserves absolute perfection. Heck, it's beyond perfection. It's hope. Remember, we are talking about a video game here, and yes, the game is insanely fun. It's fantastic. But as you just heard, there are some flaws with it, and I don't think the game is held up as well today, so it's just not perfect. Well, just think about how good the game was when it came out. That is like literally the point of this series, to judge classic games from a blind, fresh perspective on completely modern terms. Okay. Well, the major grievances you had with the game
only dealt with when you were trying to complete it, not related to problems with the main core game itself.
This is absolutely true. I actually went back and forth quite a long time between A and S, and that's why I settled on the A+ rating. Although the major issues were confined to just the completion aspect of the game, I feel like this aspect is very important. If you're playing the game in 2019, it almost requires you to push it through to 100%. The game is a bit lacking when looking at just beating it straight through, and this is how it was designed to be back in 1990. As a huge Mario and platforming fan, the game only moved into this near perfect excellence when I took it to full completion. Basically, it's held back by its genre. The 2D platformer is not nearly as relevant today as it once was, and I feel like those that will play this game in 2019 and beyond are either those who have a huge amount of nostalgia for the game or those who just love the genre and want to explore it and explore its history. Therefore, I feel like the post-game is necessary as these people are going to want to complete it to 100% as well. I feel without the post-game, it definitely just deserves an A. Solid game, wonderful experience. But with the post-game, it could move into that S and perfect rating. However, with those inconveniences, things start to add up, and they make the final third of the game a little too flawed to move it all the way to S.
I hate losing. Well, do you have anything good to say about my favorite game, or you just gonna burn it out and just forget it, you stupid?
No. I absolutely love the game and will 100% be playing it again. There are some flaws with it, and there are parts where it shows its age, but I gave it an A+, literally as close to perfect as I could. I don't think I stopped smiling through the entire thing until the very end when I had to find all those last 6 stupid exits. Most of the complaints I have are minor grievances, and the major ones are far overshadowed by just how good the game truly is. I kept having to remind myself that I was playing a game that was over 27 years old. The depth of play, variety, and pacing are fantastic, and the level design, graphics, and music all just bleed the heart and soul of the designers. I agree with the statement that this game is wonderful. But I don't think that it's the best in its class. I cannot wait to play Donkey Kong Country 2 here. I also don't even think it's the best Mario game. However, I also think that every Mario or platforming fan has to play this game. Just remember to keep a list of the exits from the start of the game. It's definitely one of the best of its kind, 2D or 3D platformer, action or adventure. It is a must play. Now, if only we could get some SNES titles on the online service. Well, that wraps up our very first Classics Under Fire review. So what do you think of Super Mario World? And really classic games in general? Did you grow up in the 8-bit era, or is your idea of a retro game Super Mario Galaxy? If you enjoyed yourself, remember to hit that subscribe button and charge up a like for us. Let me know what your favorite childhood games were that you would like to see me tackle and put under fire. If you'd like to join me as I experience those games for the very first time, head on over to Twitch for the live streams, channel name IndigoCharge. Have a wonderful, wonder-filled day, everyone. And as always, stay charged.